Have you ever just stopped and really looked outside? I mean, really looked at how incredibly green our planet is? From the smallest bit of moss on a rock to the absolute tallest trees you can imagine, plants are just everywhere. But you know, it wasn't always this way. So today, let's dive into the amazing 400 million year story of how plants made the jump from water and ended up conquering the entire world.
I mean, the sheer variety of plant life out there is just staggering. You've got these tiny, simple mosses, right? Then you have sprawling ferns, ancient conifers that have been around forever, and, get this, over 300,000 different kinds of flowering plants. They have figured out how to live in deserts, in rainforests, and literally everywhere in between.
So how did that happen? How do we get from some simple green stuff in the water to this complex, vibrant world? Well, it wasn't some overnight miracle. It was actually a series of brilliant evolutionary moves, where each step solved a huge life-or-death problem. It's an epic story of adaptation, of competition, and ultimately of total domination.
To really get our heads around this journey, we're going to break it down into 5 major evolutionary leaps. We'll start with a world of plants, then the first step on land. Then we'll get into their internal plumbing, followed by the absolute game changer, the invention of the seed. And we'll finish with what was really a masterstroke: flowers.
Okay, so first things first, how on earth do scientists piece together a story that happened over millions and millions of years? Well, they have this amazing tool called phylogeny. At its core, phylogeny is really just a family tree. By looking at the physical structure of plants and, now, by analyzing their DNA, biologists can map out exactly who's related to whom. It tells us who the ancient ancestors were and who the newer kids on the block are. This is basically the roadmap for our whole story. And our story kicks off right here. About 400 million years ago, some groups of green algae, which had been living pretty happily in the water, started to inch their way onto the shore. And this was the single biggest challenge in the entire history of plant life.
The very first group to make this daring move were the ancestors of the mosses we see today. They're called Bryophytes. And they immediately faced an enormous existential problem.
Just think about it for a second. If you're an alga, you're literally bathed in water 24/7. Life is good. But the second you're on land, you are surrounded by air that is constantly trying to suck all the moisture right out of you. To dry out was to die. So, what do?
Well, they came up with some clever, simple solutions. They developed these little structures to hold on and soak up water, but they weren't true roots, and they had no internal plumbing, no way to move that water around their bodies. That's why mosses today are so small and have to live in damp, shady spots. Crucially, they also still needed a layer of water for their sperm to literally swim to the egg to reproduce. That's why they get this cool nickname, the amphibians of the plant kingdom. They made it to land, for sure, but they could never really leave the water behind.
All right, so surviving in damp, shady corners is a good start, but it's not exactly world domination, is it? To truly conquer the continents, plants needed to solve 2 new, big problems: how to grow bigger and how to move water around inside their own bodies.
I mean, if you stay small, you're just going to get shaded out by your neighbors. It's a race for the sun. But growing tall creates a massive physics problem. How in the world do you get water from the ground all the way up to your top leaves, fighting gravity every single inch of the way? The solution was an absolute stroke of genius: vascular tissue. You can just think of it as a plant's internal plumbing system. It's got 2 parts. The xylem is a set of pipes that pulls water up from the roots, and the phloem is another set of pipes that moves food, the sugars from photosynthesis, down from the leaves to everywhere else. This changed everything.
And when you put the 2 groups side by side, the upgrade is just wow. The mosses, the bryophytes, were stuck without any plumbing. But the pteridophytes, which includes all the ferns we see today, they had it all: vascular tissue, and because of that, they could develop true roots, stems, and leaves. This was the key that unlocked the ability to grow tall, and they became the dominant plants on Earth for millions of years.
And let me tell you, they were magnificent. Some of the ancient relatives of modern ferns, like this sigillaria here, were huge trees. They formed these vast swampy forests during the Carboniferous period, the very forests that became our coal deposits. They were the first living things to truly reach for the sky, and it was all thanks to that brilliant internal plumbing.
So at this point, plants have plumbing and they can grow tall. They're doing great. But there was still one big chain tying them to the water's edge.
Yep,
Just like the mosses, these early ferns still relied on swimming sperm. That meant they needed water for fertilization to happen, and that meant they couldn't move into drier inland areas. To truly be free and conquer the whole planet, plants had to finally solve the problem of reproduction.
The solution was, without a doubt, one of the greatest inventions in the entire history of life on Earth: the seed.
A seed is just a brilliant little package. It's basically a baby plant, an embryo, tucked inside a tough protective coat, and it comes with its own packed lunch, a built-in food supply. This lets that little embryo just hang out, sometimes for years, until the conditions are perfect for it to start growing. It's a survival pod, and it completely changed the game.
The first plants to figure this out were the Gymnosperms. The name literally means naked seed. Think of pine trees. You can see their seeds just sitting there on the scales of a pine cone. And here's the other crucial part. They invented pollen. Pollen grains are these tiny, tough capsules that carry the male reproductive cells through the air. No more swimming sperm. This finally cut the cord to the water, allowing plants to spread out and colonize pretty much every corner of the land.
So for about 150 million years, the Gymnosperms, the pines and their relatives, ruled the world. But evolution is never really done, is it? There was one more great innovation to come, and it led to the group of plants that absolutely dominate our world today, the Angiosperms. Think about it. Relying on the wind to carry your pollen is, well, it's a huge gamble. You have to make tons and tons of it, hoping that a few lucky grains actually land in the right spot. It's like throwing a million paper airplanes and hoping one flies through a specific window miles away. It's just super inefficient. There had to be a better way. And this is that better way. The flower. A flower is basically a high-tech marketing device. It uses bright colors, attractive smells, and sugary rewards like nectar to lure in animals, bees, birds, bats, you name it. It essentially tricks them into becoming a dedicated door-to-door pollen delivery service, carrying pollen with precision from one flower to the next. And boy, did this strategy work. It was so successful that flowering plants, the angiosperms, just exploded into this incredible diversity. You can see it just by looking at the two major groups. You have the monocots, like grasses and lilies, which tend to have flower parts in multiples of 3. And then you have the dicots, like roses and oak trees, which usually have parts in multiples of 4 or 5. It's just an amazing variety, all built on that one brilliant innovation. So let's just recap this incredible journey. This 400 million year conquest of the planet was really a series of 4 brilliant solutions to 4 huge problems. First, the mosses figured out how to just survive on the shore. Then the ferns developed internal plumbing so they could grow tall. After that, the Gymnosperms invented the sea to finally break free from the water. And last, the Angiosperms created the flower, partnering up with animals to perfect pollination. Each step built on the one before it, leading to this complex green world that we all depend on for our survival. And it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our rapidly changing world, with all the new pressures and challenges, what incredible innovation are plants going to come up with next?